Good afternoon. My name is Kathy Whatley. I'm the Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs here at UNC Asheville. It's my honor to welcome you today, to welcome visitors, especially Dr. Tim Tyson, the Reverend Mr. Vernon Tyson, and Mary Williams to campus, and to welcome all of you, including the students, faculty, and staff to this event in the Distinguished Speakers Series. We're very pleased to have all of you here today. I'd like to make one request. If you have a cell phone with you, please take it out and turn it off. Many of you are, of course, familiar with Dr. Tyson's book, Blood Done Sign My Name. I'm sure that's partially why you're here today. This year's freshman class read this work as part of their summer reading. During orientation for the fall semester, they met in small groups with a member of the faculty to discuss it. This exercise has several objectives. It serves as a common bonding experience for freshmen, which is a good thing, but more importantly, it serves as an introduction to the intellectual engagement with important issues that we hope will be a large part of the college experience for all 4 or 5 or 6 years these students are with us. Blood Done Sign My Name was selected for this purpose because of the themes and questions it raises and because it strongly encourages the reader to examine her or his own belief system and behaviors. We thank Dr. Tyson for coming to campus to continue this conversation. It's now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Don Locke, the Director of Diversity and Multicultural Affairs, who will introduce Dr. Tyson. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Tim Tyson is no stranger to North Carolina. He was born in Raleigh, North Carolina, the son of a Methodist minister and an elementary school teacher. As a child, he lived in Sanford, Oxford, Wilmington, and Fayetteville. Tim Tyson is no stranger to the UNC Asheville class of 2010. That class read Tyson's award-winning Blood Done Sign My Name as their very first UNC Asheville academic assignment. Tyson offers more than a personal account of the Oxford, North Carolina events surrounding the murder of Dickie Merrow, a Black military veteran. His book is also a candid examination of the African-American struggle for freedom. One reviewer suggested that this book might be subtitled, "Everything You Don't Want to Know, But Should Know About the American South." Tyson's strength is that he's both a compelling storyteller and a professional historian, reflective, rigorous, honest, self-questioning, and also witty and warm, especially in his character studies of friends and family, including his preacher father. Tim Tyson is no stranger to those who desire to have North Carolina history more accurately reflect events in 1898 in Wilmington, North Carolina. Tyson's The Ghosts of 1898, Wilmington's Race Riot and the Rise of White Supremacy, was published as a supplement in newspapers in Charlotte, Raleigh, Wilmington, Fayetteville, Roanoke Rapids, and Greensboro in November 2006, reaching more than 600,000 potential readers. Tim Tyson is no stranger to the international religious community. The Grawemeyer Foundation cited Blood Done Sign My Name as the 2007 winner in the religion category. The citation for this award included the following, quote, "Tyson is working with a systemic notion of sin. Racism is a social sin. It reflects a brokenness. It is not the way God wants us to behave. The redemption is in the remaking of the social system." Tim Tyson is no stranger to the broader academic community. He is a senior research scholar for documentary studies at Duke University and a visiting professor at the Duke Divinity School, and an adjunct professor of American Studies at UNC Chapel Hill. He is currently teaching a class called The South in Black and White, which includes 50 students from North Carolina Central University, 50 students from UNC Chapel Hill, and 50 students from Duke University, along with 150 community members. After today, Tim Tyson will no longer be a stranger to you.
Well, there's gonna be a meeting. 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 Well, the meeting at the building will soon be over. Soon be over. Soon be over. Meeting at the building will soon be over. All over this land. Oh, all over this land, my Lord. All over this land. Oh, all over this land, my Lord. All over this land. Well, the singing at the building will soon be over. Soon be over. Soon be over. Singing at the building will soon be over. All over this land. Well, the shouting at the building will soon be over. Soon be over. Singing soon be over. Shouting at the building will soon be over. All over this land. Well, the singing at the building will soon be over. Soon be over. Soon be over. The shouting at the building will soon be over. All over this land.
Woo! Woo!
Soon will be done. Troubles of the world. Troubles of the world. Troubles of this world. Soon will be done. Troubles of the world, going home to live with God. No more weeping and wailing. No more, no more weeping and wailing. No more weeping and wailing. Going home with God. I want to see my grandmother. I want to see my grandmother. I want to see my grandmother going home to live with God. Gonna go home to live with God. This is a very short medley from the book, and I hope you'll continue to enjoy it. Thank you all for having me. Michael rode the boat ashore. Hallelujah. Michael rode the boat ashore. Hallelujah. Sister, help me trim the sail. Hallelujah. Brother, help me trim the sail. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. We in my heart, I don't know about you, but I really do believe we shall overcome someday. When we all get to heaven, what a great day of rejoicing that's gonna be. When we all bow down
sing this song because I heard some great voices earlier. So this is the title of the book, Blood Done Sign My Name. So I'm going to sing it through, and then I want you to join in. It's very simple. Those that can clap, clap with me. If you don't want to, don't worry about it.
Ms. Mary D. Williams, who, when she's not busy being the best gospel singer in the United States, is working at Wake County Human Services, clothing the naked and feeding the hungry and other such subversive ideas as that. Welcoming the people who washed up on the waves of Katrina in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I'm very, very honored to be here with her today. We work together. We see a lot of each other, actually. As Don mentioned, we're teaching a course called The South in Black and White, and she's the real teacher. I'm reminded every time I hear Ms. Williams of the enduring power of African American culture, of this vision that has come up out of the Black South that echoes around the world. You know, there were no African Americans in Africa. Indeed, there were no Africans in Africa. There were Igbo and Yoruba and Fulani and so on. dozens of different peoples, 120-some different languages. And African American culture is really forged in the bottom of a boat. If you want to understand American history, you have to go beyond Constitution Hall and the Declaration of Independence. You have to go to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean and talk to several million dead Africans who speak to us still, who were part of the founding of this culture and the meaning of this country. And that culture that survived that Middle Passage, that culture is the most powerful, expressive culture in the history of the world. It is an oppositional culture inherently and from its very birth, because it was forged in opposition to white supremacy and to the idea that a person can be a thing. It was forged in opposition to what Dr. King called the thingification of human beings. And that culture echoes still everywhere around the globe. If you think about it, it's kind of weird, actually, because here you have a minority culture, a small minority of one country, not even the biggest country in the world, regardless of what the president of it may think. Just a fairly good-sized country, and then within that, a small minority. And yet, if you look at world culture, if you look at spirituals and gospel and blues and rock and roll, from slam dunk to hip-hop all over the planet, people are imitating African American culture and attuned to African American history in style, in slang, in sport, in art, in intellectual traditions, especially around politics, all over, from literature. You know, this minority culture is really almost dominates world culture. And that's a kind of curious thing. I have a theory about why that is, which is very simple, you know, and really comes out of the bottom of that boat, you see. Because if you spin your globe and put your finger down at random, the chances are you're going to land on a place that is run by ruthless, reckless tyrants who are extracting the resources and the wealth of a people, right, herding it in just a few hands, clutching it for themselves, a brutal exploitative relationship with the people of that place, and if they don't like it, then their secret police come in the middle of the night and take them outside and kill them. And that is the human experience. Most places, most of the time, we live in nothing that can be considered a democracy. We are a world of empires, right? And the voice of the Black South speaks to that world in a profound and audacious voice of liberation and hope. And when, blood doesn't sign my name, I suppose, is often read as a kind of explanation for why this crazy white boy from eastern North Carolina got all eaten up with African American history and culture. And I suppose that's one way to look at it. But in truth, when I hear Ms. Williams sing, I know why that voice speaks to me so powerfully, because I want my freedom. I want my children to grow up in a vibrant, multicultural, multiracial democracy. I want my children to grow up in a republic of citizens and not an empire of subjects. I don't want my children growing up in some tiny little gated community of the mind and spirit and heart where they think they're tiny little gated little thoughts and tremble in fear, right? At the huddled masses of poor outside who are busily medicating themselves or plotting revolution, depending on how they're feeling that day. I don't want my children growing up in that kind of place. I was thinking free public schools that were funded on a per pupil basis that's equal, because the children in Terrell County, and the children in Hyde County, and the children in Duplin County, and the children in Buncombe County are just as valuable as the children in Cary, are just as valuable as the children in Raleigh. They're all our children. They're all our children. And that's what I'm doing here. Maybe. I want to thank you very much for reading my book. Those of you who could work that into your schedule. But nonetheless, no writer can ask for more, really, than simply to be engaged with in a serious way. Not just applauded, but engaged with in a serious way. It's all you can really hope for. And so you've made me very, very happy, and I'm so glad to be here. In the home of James Ferguson, brilliant attorney, lifelong activist, who is actually a character in my book. I know him in another context, but I understand he was called Bo here and made a lot of trouble, and I like that. Just the right kind of trouble. I also just want to say that you may not know him, but know them, but Frank and Margaret Adams live among you. Frank Adams, a great historian, and Frank and Margaret schooled me in the best political traditions of my homeland on their back porch in Gates County, North Carolina, before you lucked up and got them here. And you should seek them out. I'm also very grateful to Debbie Miles and Bunny Holton and to Fred Meyer, and especially the teaching fellows. I've got a teaching fellows t-shirt. I wear it almost every day. I've either got it on or it's in the washing machine. And I like it because I look down and I think, that's what I am. I'm a teaching fella. And it means a lot to me. I would hate for my children to grow up and be some kind of 2 for a nickel banker or something like that. When there's all this important teaching to do, things that actually matter. I mean, who cares? Who cares who buys or sells the most widgets? Really, it's okay. We all got to eat, and I've done a lot of different kinds of work, and it's all honorable work. I've moved tons of labor and fed lots of folks and all kinds of stuff, and it's fine. But to be a teacher, now that's something. That's something that matters. And so I'm proud of y'all, and I appreciate you working today, too. I'm also very grateful that, the most important thing I can share with you today is my daddy, Reverend Vernon Tyson, who's here with me, and I'm very, very... So, and I hope he'll share a word with you here if I shut up in time. I'm the son of the son of the son of a son of a preacher man, and a college professor, which is the only bag of wind larger than a preacher, and so there's not much hope. But we shall try, and I hope that we get a chance to talk with you some and not just at you too. Though this voice from the South speaks for the ages and speaks for the world, because that's what we're all up against. Everywhere where people are standing up for the dignity of human personality and for a decent life for their children, the voice of the South echoes all over the globe in this way. So that's an important part of why I'm so fascinated with this culture and so engrossed in it. But I also have a story that comes with a certain local specificity. I think, honestly, for you students and for the rest of you who are trying to engage in serious intellectual work, that's really the thing that it's about. Don't let anybody tell you differently. In the academy, we have a lot of odd folkways, like we think if nobody can understand what you're saying, that makes you brilliant. It's an interesting theory of communication skills, don't you think? Right? You wouldn't want to dumb it down and have anybody actually read it, would you? But anyway,
Not that I'm bitter. No, they, but if in your scholarship here, if you can make the specific speak to the general, right? If you can make the human being speak to the human condition, then you've done something, right? Because you've got a story that's small enough to be manageable, but it's not just trivia. History is just trivia if all it does is speak to the specific of one place and one person, right? That may be a good story. It may be entertaining. It might make a movie. But there's a lot of silly, trivial movies and stories going around that no one will ever see again or hear again or read again because they're not any use, right? But the stories that we pass along that really matter, the songs that we teach our children, the stories we don't want them growing up without knowing, those are the stories that speak to the human condition. And that is the work of serious intellectual endeavor. And so if you can find out what was going on here when James Ferguson was a student in this community and working in the movement in Asheville, you can find something that will speak to the larger struggle that we're still trying to understand because we need it so badly. My story starts in Oxford, North Carolina, the summer that I turned 11, when Gerald Teal, a boy that I played with just about every day, walked up in our driveway and said, "Daddy and Roger and them shot him a nigger." And he was telling me that his father and his brothers had killed a man. And then, I went to a supper table that was oddly silent, and then my sister Boo and I went down to the corner, and we looked at Gerald's house on the corner of Front Street and Main with the wraparound porches, and the porches were covered with men with guns. And we knew something perilous and important was unfolding. And we knew in that moment, I use the word baptism as the title for that chapter because I think that is the place where stories come from, where stories that matter come from. We all know that place when you know something's going on here, but you don't know what it is, and they won't tell you because you're not old enough, or you don't matter enough, or something, and you got to figure it out for yourself. And that's where our literature comes from, and that's where our history that matters springs from, is those kinds of moments when you're trying to understand what's going on here and that you have to figure it out for yourself. When I walked down through the downtown part of Oxford, and there was not a window left downtown. All the windows covered up with plywood. About 100 state troopers downtown with the big pump shotguns. Every cop in town out on the streets. Looked like we were walking through a war zone, going to Cradle Elementary School that morning. That summer, we had Oxford's a little tobacco market town. You probably know it. Nestled up underneath Virginia in the center of the state, just up the Jefferson Davis Highway from Durham and Chapel Hill. You get there a lot quicker these days than you did then. It was a long way up the Jefferson Davis Highway from Chapel Hill to Oxford in those days. And yet what happened in town that summer, sent out waves and connected to struggles all over the state. We had a young man there named Ben Chavis, now Benjamin Chavis Muhammad, who was 23 and teaching at the local black high school. The last year we had a black high school in Oxford, teaching at Mary Potter. The young man who was killed was named Henry Mara. Henry Mara was Ben Chavis's adoptive cousin. He grew up in the house with Ben Chavis's cousins, right? And that's how Ben Chavis got to be Ben Chavis. We had a movement that emerged that summer that came up out of First Baptist Church on Sunday afternoon and marched through town by the hundreds and then the thousands. That was, a lot like something you might see in Eyes on the Prize. And, it was essentially a nonviolent movement. It was angry. This is 1970. Martin Luther King's been dead for 2 years. And his murder speaks much more loudly than his message in the streets of Granville County, even at First Baptist Church. And then we had another movement, a smaller movement, that met at McCoy's Pool Hall after hours. I would call it a conservative movement. They were young black conservatives at McCoy's Pool Hall. They had conservative ideas. They thought that everything was about money and power. And they thought that power speaks to power, and that power will deal with you when power has to deal with you. And they thought that it's all about economics. And they thought you can't trust people different than yourself. In fact, you can't trust many people. They were very conservative in their political beliefs. They thought violence was essentially the way things get decided on planet Earth, if you're realistic. And so they dismissed this radical notion of nonviolence. And they opted for the more traditional American solution. And they burned the warehouses. Because they had this funny idea that they had done sort of a cost-benefit analysis. I'm not sure they'd gone to the business school about it, but they did a kind of cost-benefit analysis, and they realized that a gallon of gas, I think, was going for about 30 cents back then, but a warehouse filled with tobacco was going for, $2-3 million. So really, for a couple of bucks, you could cost somebody several $1 million. And they thought that the people who owned those warehouses and the people whose livelihood depended on the tobacco that was in them might listen to them if one by one they started going up. And, I think what happened in Oxford, people sometimes ask me, they get the idea that I like violence or that I endorse it or something, or that I think violence is the key to social change. It's not true at all. I actually don't. The truth is, violence is a terrible thing to choose to do. It draws lines between you and other people that will possibly never go away. When do you forgive the people that killed your grandparents? When do you forgive the people who murdered your great aunt? When do you forgive the people who burned your house down? When do you forgive the people who raped your teenage daughter? When do you? You start getting into violence. You're talking about something serious. But it's not like it doesn't happen, right? And you can't just pretend it didn't happen. And so we tell ourselves, I used to tell myself, for example, this is a story, when I grew up with this story, I used to tell myself that first the all-white jury had acquitted the Teals. It had gone to the courts. There had been nonviolent protests. Then the all-white jury acquitted them, even though this is no murder mystery. This is a murder that occurred in public with plenty of witnesses. And then they burned the warehouses. But that's not true. They never expected justice at the courthouse, and the warehouses started burning up pretty quickly after the murder, in fact. We had a whole summer of arson, and the night of the big fires, you could see the fire for 20 miles, and we lived 4 blocks away. The News and Observer said downtown Oxford looked like Berlin after the Allied bombing raids. And it continued to burn in my memory and made me go back. I became fascinated. We moved from Oxford to Wilmington. Wilmington was actually far more violent and dramatic a story. It's compressed pretty much in this book because I didn't want to write a book that thick, but Wilmington is complicated, and you have to understand it really to understand any of this. But growing up there in Wilmington and being part of the first generation of children who went to integrated schools, where 2 people were killed at the school I went to in the 9th grade. My friend Ricky Miller stabbed to death in the bathroom, the school I went to in the 10th grade. Lots of riots, lots of trouble. In case they don't ask your political opinion in a riot, by the way. It's just kind of, the teams are very clear. It's just worth remembering in case you ever find yourself in a riot. Don't stop and try to explain to people how you feel about the liberation struggle going on. I'd advise you to just get low and get out. But in that complicated place of growing up, I went back. And really what Blood Doesn't Sign My Name is just a version of my freshman paper. When I was a freshman in college, I'd heard of a thing called oral history. That's where you go and talk to the folks who were involved in the history. And I heard it on the radio or something. I didn't know anybody who'd done it. And I went up to Oxford with a tape recorder and went to Mr. Teal's barbershop to ask them why they had killed Henry Mara and what did they think about that now. And met Eddie McCoy whose daddy owned McCoy's pool hall, who had come back from the Dominican Republic. Nobody really remembers so much. We invaded the Dominican Republic in 1965. I think maybe they had elected the wrong person or something like that. And so we introduced democracy there in 1965. And Eddie came back from the Dominican Republic, and he noticed that the people in the Dominican Republic looked a good deal like him. Indeed, and he began to suspect that perhaps the democracy that he was importing to the Dominican Republic bore a certain thematic resemblance to the democracy he had experienced in Granville County, North Carolina. And so the veterans down at the pool hall really, and I met Mr. McCoy, and he introduced me to the people who had burned the warehouses, who had met at McCoy's pool hall. And this book really comes out of that process of research. But I did it first as my master's thesis, which if you could, first is that paper. I know we've got some high school students here, a captive audience. It's a good thing. Hey, I want to tell you, the high school students, I have one thing that you need to know. It's very important. Your life is going to get a lot better soon, okay? Freedom. Right. Stay low and keep moving. Right. Education's not illegal everywhere, just in high school. College is great. College is great. College is like a great cafeteria of the mind, and where really, high school is just an obedience test. Get your ticket punched, do what they tell you to do, you'll do well in high school. But not that I'm bitter, but I may have forgotten to attend on occasion. But college, on the other hand, is a place where what really counts is your passion for learning, right? And so that it's not about obedience. It's about finding your own voice and learning what is true for you, and then figuring out that it's a big world that's all connected to your innermost personal things are connected to the human experience all over the world, and that it's all there in the library, right? And they can't stop you. So, but this was my, a paper at that point in my life, which I didn't actually, my freshman paper, I never finished it. I just did about half a book worth of research, and then I was ashamed. Do not be ashamed. There's no point in it. I was ashamed, and so I didn't go back to see the professor because I didn't have a paper, and I didn't go back because I just didn't know how to write one. And I had grabbed hold of this massive thing, right, of this history, and I'd been all the way to the bottom of it in a certain way, but I didn't know what to do with it, so I just stayed away from the professor and got an incomplete, and then it turned to an F, right, because I didn't go see him. If I'd gone see him and shown him what I'd done, he'd probably give me an A then. I've actually sent him a copy of the book. He promises he's changed my grade, but I don't know about that. But don't hide from the faculty. If you get in a pinch, just go see them. Really, they're not mad at you. Really, almost never. But the thing about that master's thesis, if you could bear to read it, is that you wouldn't know that I lived there, that you wouldn't know that I knew these people. You wouldn't know that I'd been a tad bit irritated with them, for 20 years or so, right? So that you wouldn't know my personal relationship to this story, which is complicated, right, as it always is. I thought I would, it was a hard book to write, and in the middle of it, I kept sort of finding myself unable to go on because it hurt too bad. And I had to deal with things like my parents are human beings, and complex. And what do you do with the people? What do you do with the people who took your face in their hands and told you they loved you and taught you that you were a child of God, right? What do you do when they're blind spots on things like race? What do you do when they wipe their feet on the Declaration of Independence and the Sermon on the Mount? And there ain't no way around that, but they're good people. It's a complicated thing to do. Also, of course, I was a trained professional historian, and I could see the invisible historians were over my shoulder. And you know what they were doing? They were scowling at me. So I stopped and wrote these words, which I'm going to use as a closing, in case a couple of you didn't quite make it to the author's note at the end of the book. Yeah, I know that one or two of you may not have. Stories can have sharp edges. If you don't believe it, read the Bible. Cain's people wish someone would tell his side of the story. Abel had it coming. The Chamber of Commerce in the Sodom and Gomorrah greater metropolitan area would like to point out that much has changed since the old days when a handful of misfits and outsiders marred the reputation of their fine community. Several persons in the scriptural list of who begat whom still don't see why the New Testament historian found it necessary to use their real names. Love and work have taught me that Eudora Welty was right, that people are mostly layers of violence and tenderness wrapped like bulbs, and it is difficult to say what makes them onions or hyacinths. If some of the people in these pages have left a bitter taste in my mouth, others have brought fragrant blossoms season after season. And who wants to live without onions? Anyone intent on moral clarity might want to find another book, and in fact might not want to go anywhere near the enduring chasm of race in the United States. They might wish to find another planet. But if, as Robert Frost said, Earth's the right place for love, those of us who believe in love and freedom cannot look away. The bloody, tangled history that taints and confounds all of us could have been much better if human beings had acted differently, and it could have been far worse, too. It may yet be unspeakably worse. No one should ever underestimate the venom of ancient wrong. But I remain stitched to the labors of redemption and to what Charles Chestnut, another storyteller from North Carolina, called the shining thread of hope that permitted him over a century ago to close his own story of white supremacy, racial slaughter, and unresolved injustice. There's time enough, but none to spare. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And against all odds, I have actually managed to leave my father a couple of minutes to say a word to us, and we may even be able to take a question or two. We'd like that. Thank you. Vernon Tyson.
My children grew up in a home where if anybody ever asked me what I was going to preach about, I would say about God and about 20 minutes. Here I'm not preaching, and I'm not preaching about God, and I certainly don't have 20 minutes. So I will say that I grew up knowing two things were very important. One was love, that if you didn't have love, you really didn't have anything worthwhile. That 1 Corinthians 13 is really important. Now abideth faith, hope, love. These three, and the greatest of these is love. If you don't love yourself, if you don't love God, if you don't love your neighbor, you really don't have much to contribute in a helpful way in this kind of world. It's essential if you give your body to be burned and have not love. But I also knew that truth was important, that if your life was built on a lie, it wouldn't stand, that you had to cut to the bone, you had to go to the center of things, go bone deep, go where the truth is. And those two things were like the two essentials of life. But I came to see that really that life, as I experienced it, was a three-legged stool, not a two-legged stool. That it is love, that it is truth, and that it is timing. I took my first appointment in 1952. Where were you in 1952? And the Supreme Court said to do it with all deliberate speed in 1954. And there I was, not on a university campus, but in the trenches, faced with that dilemma of the world changing. When Rosa Parks sat down, Martin Luther King stood up, and something shifted in America. And so I was caught on the front lines in that dilemma. And so it is that the struggles that I went through, lots of people went through in my generation. My story is really the story of people without number. One of the things Tim says is there was no office where the telephone would ring and somebody would say, "A civil rights office, can I help you this morning?" It had no focus center point. Every community was in some ways struggling with the civil rights movement. And so I would simply say that you can't go back and rekindle the fire that burnt on the hearth in the 50s and 60s. If Mr. Wesley has taught us anything to sing, it is to serve the present age, my calling to fulfill. And what is the struggle in the present age? It certainly has something to do with gender, though that's been going on now for a while. And it certainly has to do with what it means to be a sexual person. We have yet to tackle that problem. And so if we're going to be on the cutting edge and going to be in the timing of where God is today, we still need lots of love and lots of truth and timing enough to wrestle with the unsolved problems of our day.
Told you. We've got time for a question or two. Probably just a question or two, but if somebody's got one, we'd be happy to engage it. Yes, ma'am. She's writing a book about two murders committed by her father in Mississippi in 1946, and oddly enough is running into a little problem with cooperation from her family. and how do you go about this in a loving way? God bless you. I was lucky. My mother and father understood what I was doing pretty well, and we had our difficult days. You know, my mother got kind of cross with me about the passage that I wrote about her mother, that was a little steely, and she was a little steely with me, and I didn't care for that much, and it hurt, and I went home and cried, and I resigned from writing my book. I said, I don't have the stomach for this. But the next time I saw her, she made it clear without saying so that it was fine, then that she understood that I needed to do that, and that it was a good, well done and everything. She didn't really say all that, but she let me know in no uncertain terms that it was okay. And my father really couldn't have been more helpful to me. It's really his lore. And however, that's not helpful to you so much. And what I would say is, one thing you have to understand is that good history is a ruthless thing. Writing a book is a ruthless thing. It requires you to be ruthless with yourself. It requires you to be ruthless with other people. But that does not mean it is not an act of love. It just means that surgery is a ruthless thing. You have to have a strong enough stomach to cut somebody. But that's not the same thing as cutting somebody, right? It's surgery. It's a healing thing. Daddy may have something about this.
There's a story in Tim's book about the gator. And when he wrote that, he used the real name of the gator and sent the story to the gator's daughter. And she wept on the telephone and said, "This man is the grandfather of my children. How can they grow up? How can I nurture these children if their grandfather's story is out here in print?" So he wanted to use the story. So he took the gator and moved him over to the other side of the family and gave him a different name and sent it to the woman, and she was pleased. So it is a true story that he wrote, but sometimes you can use camouflage.
And if I was doing it, I wouldn't do that again. I would have told her, "Sorry, Margaret," because it doesn't matter. But it didn't matter. That was a very peripheral story. My friend Gerald, who's quoted on page 1, is not too keen on this book. And it's not his fault. He didn't do anything that I didn't do. He was just caught up in this story, same way I was, and it hurt him. But you just have to understand that there will be some hurt, but that I think it's much more important to do to tell your story than not to. Yes, ma'am. A little louder is good, but that's...
When speaking about paternalism versus charity, do you still think this is a major issue in our society, especially among those who are younger and with apathy growing among them?
Yes. The question is, do I still think that paternalism is an important racial issue in our society? I think it's a very important issue that people need to understand with clarity. That's why I had to tell the story about my mama's mama, even though it hurt, because people still stand in line. I go places and sign books, and people stand in line for half an hour, and 10% of them want to tell me a story about the maid. They're white people who want to tell me about how they loved the maid that worked in their house and how she was just like family. And it's a cushion that they're trying to catch this painful story that I've told them with this other story that they're telling themselves is a very different story. And I have to say, did she have health insurance? Because if she was just like family, you wouldn't want her not to have health insurance, would you? Because then if she got leukemia, you'd have to sell your house to pay her hospital bill. But she didn't have health insurance, so she wasn't just like family. Where'd she go to church? How many children did she have? What were their names? You know what I'm saying? It's not that we weren't close, because there was love, genuine love. I've seen the tears in people's eyes, black and white. I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to besmirch anybody's feelings, but you have to deal with like the reality of your actual relationship with each other, which is connected to the social structure that you're ensnared in. And now our conversation about race is everybody wants to talk about being friends. If we're just enough black people around for us, all the white folks to have their very own pet Negro, why, that would solve everything. You know, it's really all about your heart, isn't it? Bullshit. It's not about your heart. I'm not saying that your heart is unimportant. I'm just saying that every time I'm in a school that has linoleum peeling up on the floor and the locker doors are hanging off and they don't have computers, everywhere I'm in a school like that, I'm looking at a sea of black and brown faces. And every time I'm in a school that looks like Duke, except it's a high school, I'm looking at a sea of white children with a little cinnamon sprinkled on top. So it's for like 10% sort of for diversity. You know, it's not an accident, and they're all our children, and we have to be committed to them, regardless of our feelings. You know, it's our social structure is also worth some attention. And that's where this, you know. One more, I think. Good. Do you see one? I can't see too well. Yes, sir. the question is, do I feel that white people is there a danger for white people who are working in civil rights to fall into this paternalist trap? I think if you want to understand American history, you have to get this phrase in your head and contemplate it. White supremacist abolitionist. There are people who died, who gave their very life, white people who died, who gave their very life to end slavery, whose writings and diaries and letters you could read and you would be appalled at the white supremacy of their assumptions about the world, right? If white supremacists can't do good work, we're all in trouble, right? But right? So I mean, we've got a lot of recovering white supremacists among us, and of all colors, really, frankly. And I've been teaching in the Afro-American Studies department for a while now. I'm telling you now, if it's in their head, do you think it's not in mine? Come on. So you have to, I think, be able to be willing to be uncomfortable so you can learn, and make mistakes so you can learn. And it's okay. We need to stop waiting for the saints to come marching in. They never did. They never will, right? But we can do a lot better if we're willing to be uncomfortable. I always say lean into it. When you feel uncomfortable, and racial discomfort is inevitable. When you feel uncomfortable, all of us, if you feel uncomfortable, you want to run, but actually, if you just move a little closer. Don't run at them, but just move a little closer, right? And lean into it, and listen to your heart, and listen to the folks that you're talking to. And that's the kind of place where you can grow and change and be a better warrior, for a better society. And that's not just about helping the downtrodden. You have to understand, I think, white people especially, and really actually people of means in our society. People of means, and I mean of all colors, and people of means, people who are not in poverty, people who have health insurance, need to start thinking about what kind of world do they want their children to grow up in. Not, can I help the poor and downtrodden, but what is my stake in this? Do I want my children, can I make a separate deal and be in my own separate world with my own private, shopping area, my own private police force, my own private school system. We'll be in the high-rise, high-security compound with our own way. Or is that where you want your children to live? It's a tiny little place. Even for the people inside, it's not good. And for the people outside, of course, it's death. So you have to understand your own stake in things and start fighting for your own self, and what you believe in, and not. And, black folks, if you're a white, and I'm sort of talking to white people because it's a question about white people, but it's all right to talk in front of each other, some black person may disagree with you and stomp their foot at you, and you may have to just not run. And you may have to just go, tell me a little more about that, and process it and learn, and not to say they're right, they might be wrong, because we've had this theory that God hands out moral, cultural, intellectual worth on the basis of pigmentation, but it was a lie, and it's not true now, in either direction, right? In any direction. So you have to deal with that and wrestle with it. And I think that paternalist impulse is definitely something that you need to keep wrestling with. Thank you so much. It's been wonderful talking with you. I appreciate your company. Oh, go on. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming today. I'd like to invite you to a book signing in the lobby and a reception there to have a chance to talk to Dr. Tyson and Reverend Tyson. And thanks very much again for coming.
Well.